All right, and we are broadcasting live. Welcome to Phil's First Party Parlay, where we talk all things timely and topical in the insurance restoration industry. I'm Phil Sanov, trial lawyer with Morgan & Morgan's Insurance Recovery Group. In Morgan & Morgan's Insurance Recovery Group, I have got 55 of the most awesome attorney colleagues you would ever want to know. We are in 25 offices, 13 states, all around the country. If you have any insurance claim problem with any insurance policy, you need to come see us. You can reach us through our website, forthepeople.com, hit pound LAW from any cell phone, anywhere, or just call my cell, 713-825-3444. Morgan & Morgan Insurance Recovery Group. Come see us. Joining me tonight is my friend Edson Briggs, one of those awesome colleagues I just talked about. Edson, hit that button and come back to see us, friend.
Hi, Phil.
Right. Welcome. Hello. Thank you for joining us this evening, Edson.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want to, you're welcome. Let me introduce you a little bit. Edson has been practicing law for over 20 years, has a number of trials under his belt, his experience with jury verdicts, both in the first party property realm and in the general commercial litigation aspect. One of the favorite things that I've recently learned about Edson is that Edson served for, I believe it was 4 years, active military intelligence before he went into the private practice of law. So Edson, as we spoke earlier today, I want to thank you for your service to our country, particularly this week. What a time to come to know that about you. I'm grateful for all you've done. I think Edson is frozen up on my system. Hopefully that we'll figure that out.
Hello?
All right. Had a little
My connection cut out there for a minute. Sorry.
Got it. I was in the middle of saying all these nice things to introduce you, Edson. I think as long as all the people out there heard it, then I think we're in good shape. So Edson joins us from Miami.
Good. We have a torrential downpour outside that might be responsible for the connection cutting out, and that kind of segues into my topic for tonight, which is things that you might want to look at in your homeowner's insurance policy to prepare for hurricane season.
All right, let me get that intro properly, Edson. So Edson, you know I'm a trial lawyer that believes in the magic of three, the power of three. And so when the guests come on, we always talk about 3 points. We forecast for the people hearing this, watching this, seeing it later, what those 3 points are. And then we go back and fill in and talk more detail on each point. So Edson is here since it is Hurricane Preparedness Month. And in Miami, South Florida, where they've had more than their share of the bad weather, having a little weather now. Edson, talk to us about the 3 points that you're going to let people know they need to be aware of as they prepare before the hurricane, things they can look at from the policy perspective to prepare for an upcoming terrible weather event.
Okay, well, as you know, since we got hit by Hurricane Irma recently, and we've had hundreds of Hurricane Irma related lawsuits, which I've litigated over 200 of those myself, I see there's 3 things you should have in your insurance policy that now is the time to do that if you don't, and to check and make sure you have them. Number 1, above all else, and I hope this doesn't apply to anyone listening, but make sure the insurance policy is in your name as the homeowner, that you are the named insured on the policy, and that it's not your bank or a lender-placed or forced-place insurance policy. Okay. This is hugely important.
Point number 1 for Edson on his hurricane preparedness, make sure you are the named insured. Edson, take us to point number 2, please.
Point number 2 is particularly if you live anywhere near a body of water, remotely or closely, make sure you have flood insurance.
All right, point number 2. We're going to talk about flood insurance. I can I can raise my hand about make sure you have flood insurance. I lost my house a couple of years ago to the flood with Hurricane Harvey here in Houston. So after we talk about making sure that
Hurricane Harvey was Hurricane Irma's evil twin.
Right. So we make sure that we're the named insured, that we have flood insurance if we're close to a body of water. Point number 3.
Point number 3 is check and see if you have a preferred contractor or right to repair clause in your policy, and be aware of what that means. You'll usually get a discount if you sign up for it, but I'm going to explain what the pros and cons are of a right to repair or preferred contractor clause or endorsement.
All right, those are 3 important points for policyholders as we go into hurricane preparedness, hurricane season. Okay, let's talk about point number 1. Edson, what do you mean by a policyholder to make sure that they are the named insured on their policy, please?
Well, most homeowners, myself included, have a mortgage on their property, at least one mortgage. And so that bank, that lender, owns an interest in your house as well as you do. And they need to see that there's insurance on the property. If you don't demonstrate to the lender that you have insurance, even if you have it, if you don't show it to the lender will put on your house something called a lender-placed insurance policy, and that will insure the property, but it's not very advantageous to the homeowner in the event of a loss for a lot of reasons, which I'll get into.
Okay, let's get into those reasons. What are some reasons that folks need to make sure that they are the named insured and that they don't have a lender-placed policy with the lender as the named insured?
Well, first and foremost, as the name suggests, if you're not the named insured, you don't own the policy and it's not for your benefit. You may benefit from it, and I had certain clients benefit from it, but those benefits are limited by the fact that if you don't own something, you don't call the shots, and you don't get the whole bundle of protections and rights that come with something that you own. If you borrow from Ocwen or Wells Fargo, it's their policy, and that has a lot of implications to it.
What are the type implications?
Let's start with it's more expensive. You're going to pay for it. It's going to come out of your escrow, and it's more expensive because the bank doesn't conduct an inspection to see what the status of your property is. They just get a generic policy, and since nobody knows what the status of your house is, it's like when you lose your parking ticket, they charge you the maximum rate. So you might pay double what a homeowner's insurance policy in your name would cost, and it's coming out of your escrow, but you don't even own it. That's number 1.
Okay. What's another
number
point?
2 is a typical homeowner's insurance policy. Another point is a typical homeowner's insurance policy will cover the dwelling, the house, the main house. That's called coverage A. It will cover things like sheds and docks and guest houses apart from the main dwelling. That's called coverage B. It'll cover personal property. That's called coverage C. And it'll cover loss of use if you have to live in a hotel while your house is getting repaired. That's coverage D. And then there's a lot of other coverages that are incidental to those 4 main ones, like debris removal or repair costs and other things. Well, you don't get any of those. You don't get C or D or any of those other things with a forced placed policy. The lender is only going to protect the structure and maybe the outlying structures, which we call coverage B. So your house and your shed or guest house may be covered, but not your personal property, your belongings, and not any cost that is going to accrue to you from having to live outside your house.
So what do you recommend to folks if they're doing their hurricane preparedness right now, Edson, and they're seeing this now, or they see it on one of the video platforms as we repurpose it? What do you want folks to do if they look at their policy and holy smoke, it names their mortgage company as the named insured? How do you want them to handle that?
Well, the simple answer to that is right now, while we don't have a named storm in the box and you can't get new coverage when that exists, and we don't know when that's going to happen. I believe there have already been a couple of named storms, but there isn't one in the box now. So you should go and get a policy in your own name. Can I show the viewers what a lender-placed policy looks like, so they'll know what to look for?
You've got the ability to do that from our amazing Zoom technology here. Please do. Please let folks see that.
Well, actually, the share screen is disabled, so I could just describe it.
Okay.
Or I don't know if it can be enabled.
Let me see if I can. I do see that I can do that from here. Aha. Looks like we're good now. Try it again, Edson. Let's see if that works.
Okay.
All right, I'm seeing your Gmail.
Yes. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
This is a fax to a client. I've redacted the client's name, but the first clue is when they send it to you, it says lender placed or forced placed policy.
Okay.
Now, this particular lender is Aquin. They're a big lender. And when you asked me, Phil, what a insured should do, this particular homeowner was advised by the bank. Enclosed is a policy that renews the lender-placed insurance policy. We placed this policy because acceptable proof of coverage was not provided. The annual premium is shown and it will be charged to the escrow account. That means you're going to be paying for it. Now, look at this language here. Independent insurance is both an option and is recommended. That's because you don't own the policy. It can be canceled at any time and it can be canceled by the lender. So two other things really quickly to realize is that here's what I was saying. It only covers buildings and structures. And whereas a homeowner's policy in your name would cover a lot more than that. Look at where it says named insured. This is the declarations page. You're going to want to look and you're going to want to see your own name there and not the name of your mortgage bank. Your mortgage bank should appear as the lender, not as the named insured. Now, the financial institution is shown as the named insured and not you. And it will be paid to the bank. Here's one of the two main points I haven't covered yet. Your house is not covered to the extent of its value. It's covered to the extent of the bank's interest. If you have a $1,000 loan balance, it says then $100,000 loan balance, then your home under the lender policy may be only covered to the extent of $100,000, even if it's worth $300,000, whereas a policy in your name would cover the whole thing. And another thing is that here in Florida, if you're a Florida resident, we have a statute that allows me to collect attorney's fees from your insurance company if we have to sue them to recover. Well, that's much more difficult if the policy is not in your name. There are things I was able to do for these clients who had lender-placed policies, but my hands were tied by the fact that I can't go after fees, I can't go after additional coverages, and I can only recover the amount that the property is, that the debt on the mortgage note, not the value of the house.
Right.
And let me see. The bank will settle, the bank can settle the case with you. I mean, the insurance company can settle the case with your bank and not with you. And if the bank should fail to pay the premium, this can be canceled without notice to you. So I think, and here again at the end of the policy, Aquin itself says independent insurance is both an option and is recommended. I recommend that the listeners follow that advice and get their own policy.
Great, great. Okay, we've been up and down on the making sure that you as the homeowner are the named insured on the policy. Point two we're moving into was to recommend folks make sure that they have flood insurance, separate flood insurance in the event that they live near a body of water. What do you want to fill in to give us more details on that, sir?
That's right. Well, most private insurance companies in this market in Florida, they'll sell homeowners insurance that covers for wind and hurricane, but they will not cover you for flood unless you purchase a separate endorsement. And one of the main reasons for that is flood is insured through the National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP, and that is administered by FEMA, and it has its own special requirements. And as many of my colleagues in South Florida could attest, we had cases where wind-driven rain and flooding damaged the property. And when you're pursuing a claim, you don't want to give the insurance company any avenue to say your claim is denied. And if your home suffers flooding and you don't have flood coverage, you may be able to argue that some of it is wind coverage, but to lower their loss, the insurance company will likely try to argue that it is mostly or even entirely flood related. And you can take that argument off the table, or as Mark Nation, our department head, says, you can break the arrows in their quiver by being fully covered for flood and for hurricane. And the way you do this is look and see if you have the ability, call your agent if you have an insurance agent and ask them if you have a flood endorsement and get a quote. It's not that expensive and it's just worth having. I went out and got it myself, and now I feel safer because I've watched people with only hurricane policies face a defense that, well, this is flood and it's not covered, and you don't want to be in that situation. And I have an example of what this looks like.
Okay.
This is a standard form.
So folks watching live and
I'll
folks
share
seeing this later video, here's an example of a flood policy. Here we go.
Yeah, yours may have a different cover page, but this is a standard form issued by FEMA, which, as you know, is an agency of the federal government. This is a standard flood insurance policy. As we discussed, it's sponsored by the National Flood Insurance Program, and it has standard provisions. And if you have flood damage and hurricane-related wind and water damage where the water is wind-driven rain, and you make a claim, you will typically have a flood adjuster and a wind adjuster. And if the flood adjuster says that's not flood damage, then you can turn around and talk to the wind adjuster, because you're really under one policy, even though you have two. You can sort of pit the left hand against the right hand, and say a cabinet in the kitchen that water came in through the window and it came up with flooding damage from the floor. Well, okay, wind adjuster and flood adjuster, someone's got to pay for this. So this is what you're going to want. And I'm not going to go through because I don't believe time permits or it would be useful. The main point I'm making is have this in your arsenal if you live anywhere near a body of water. That's my recommendation. And I will just add one thing. Looking forward to your claim is document your personal property very carefully. If you suffer flooding, you will likely have personal property lost, and it's very difficult to claim that if you don't have proofs of purchase and receipts showing that you paid for that flat screen TV or that china out of your own pocket. Even if you have a picture of it, which is good, take pictures and receipts. Document the personal property you think you might claim if your house gets flooded. The more it's documented in advance, the better. FEMA and NFIP are very picky. That's been my experience.
Having lost virtually everything I own to a flood twice, I can tell all those people that don't have flood insurance or are getting new flood insurance take pictures, document what you've got. You've got to be able to show what you own and what you paid. Very good
And
advice.
those receipts should be in a metal box and high up off your floor.
High up
Since
off
we're
the
talking
floor
about
so
flood.
the flood doesn't get there. All
So
right. We talked to people about making sure that they are the named insured, about making sure that they have a flood endorsement or a separate flood policy. Where are we moving with our third point, talking about right to repair or preferred vendor program, Edson?
Well, some insurers that sell policies in Florida have decided that it's more economical for them to offer a policy where they get to pick the contractor who's going to fix your house in the event of a claim. They feel that prevents the inflation of costs and puts the ball in their court. So you can go to some of these insurers, and it's not the purpose of this call to get into which ones those are. You can go to those insurers and you can pay slightly less on your premium if you give up the right to pick your own contractor. And I just want the listeners to be aware of what they're giving up. I mean, the savings you make on your premium may not be worth that. You may want to retain that control and pay a little more in your premium. And again, I have an example of this I can show the viewers.
Please.
Okay.
Now, Edson, let me fill in a little bit here. Having litigated hundreds of hurricane claims, particularly recently even, what types of challenges have you seen policyholders face when they have policies that do have this right to repair and preferred vendor program that they may or may not have even known about going into the storm season?
That's what I want the viewers and listeners to know, is to be aware of their options. The challenge is often when a right to repair clause exists and the homeowner doesn't know about it, they'll go ahead and make some repairs or make a claim through a public adjuster or a law office such as ours, and they'll end up getting sued by the insurance company for not giving them the right to repair. I've had this happen to a number of clients, and it's quite startling to my clients who've gotten sued by their own insurance company that they're getting a summons and complaint when all they did was make a claim. And in this particular one I'm about to share with you, that happened, and we resolved the lawsuit, but it came as quite a surprise to the client in this case to get a summons. This is one of the carriers that is known for doing this. Can you see my screen, Phil?
We see your screen. Yes, sir.
Okay, the endorsement, which is an attachment to your policy, says preferred contractor endorsement. And the basic gist of it is if you make a claim for property damage, they're allowed to select their own in-house repair team, Rapid Response Team LLC, and they get to come out there and do repairs. And the property coverage you get, if a peril causing a loss and repairs are necessary, you must notify us before commencing repairs so we may select the Rapid Response Team. And I see we're at the 24-minute mark, so I'm going to scroll on down in case there's any questions. This is what this particular client saved on their premium, $134. And the Rapid Response Team is, and you have to pay the deductible before they'll come out. So if you have a $1,300 deductible and the Rapid Response Team charges $8,000, you pay the Rapid Response Team $13,000. So you have to pay for it, but you don't get to pick it. If you want more control over the ball and you're willing to pay a little more to do it, you should at least be aware. If you can't spare the difference between the two, and every dollar, I think every dollar counts in all of our budgets, but in the event you should have a hurricane claim, you may want to retain that right, and it may be worth some extra money for you. So this is what unlike my strong recommendation that you get flood insurance and get a policy in your own name, my recommendation with Rapid Response Team is be aware if you have it, And if that savings is worth it to you, then go for it. But be aware that you're not going to control who's going to do the repairs.
My goodness, yes. I forget that folks can get sued by their insurance company for doing their own repairs under that. That is unreal. Well,
I had
as you
3 clients get sued by their insurance company for not using the rapid response team.
Wow, unreal. Well, Edson, I'm monitoring our chat room. I'm monitoring our questions. I don't see any right now. Is there anything else? And I can't think of anything that you really didn't clarify. I thought all the information went lockstep quite well. Anything else you'd like to add before we close out for the evening?
I think I would like to wrap up by stating when a client comes to me with a claim, there's a lot I can do for them, except one thing, and that is tell them what kind of policy to get. So there have been a lot of times when I wish I could go back in time and tell them what kind of policy to get. So that was my point for tonight. We don't have a hurricane coming, so now's the time to make sure you have the right coverage. And if you have any questions beyond what I set forth tonight, please feel free to contact me.
Okay, now
at Morgan & Morgan.
Let's make sure we understand how people can do that. We want to make sure they know how to get through you. They can go through our website, as I said, forthepeople.com, or how would you
look me up on the website?
Okay.
My name is Edson Briggs. Again, you can look me up on the website. My direct dial telephone number at work is 305-929-1921. And my email address is ebriggs@forthepeople.com. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. If you're watching a recorded version of this video and you have some doubts about your insurance coverage, now's the time, because once a claim is made, you can't change your policy.
ebriggs@forthepeople.com. I just wanted to make sure to say that again in case folks didn't catch it quite well the first time. Well, Edson, we are grateful for you being here this evening. The only thing I ask is that you think of 3 more points on some other topic in the insurance restoration industry so that you can come back soon.
It would be my pleasure, and thank you again.
All right, great, Edson. Folks, thank you very much, Edson. I'm going to take us home. Remember, Morgan & Morgan, Insurance Recovery Group. Come see us. Thank y'all. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Edson.